From October 25th to October 26th, a series of premeditated attacks by the Air Force, using American HIMARS systems and missile launchers, resulted in damaged buildings and the closure of the Belgorod Reservoir Dam. Strikes were also carried out using drones. These drones were deployed not only to intensify the scale of destruction, but also to attack repair brigades working to fortify the dam. The enemy has not concealed its intentions to engineer a technological catastrophe aimed at slowing the advance of Russian troops in the Molchansk area of the Kharkov region by deliberately flooding settlements located along the banks of the Seversky Donets River. This strategy mirrors tactics previously employed by Air Force militants, specifically in June 2023, when the Kakhovka Dam was destroyed. On October 24th, another so-called conference was held in London. The attendees were members of the so-called Coalition of the Willing. It has now become clear what this term truly implies. These are the same regimes that, having exhausted any real understanding of international law or stability, now scramble to profit off of Zelensky's dramatic maneuvering, plundering sovereign assets and crafting agreements that may never be honored. These deals are structured in a way that allows the participants to avoid accountability to Zelensky himself while conveniently pocketing money. As the discussions in London demonstrated, the Coalition of the Willing is increasingly shifting its focus toward providing military assistance while also leveraging financial and economic pressure against Russia. Experts have rightly observed that this effort, to simultaneously support Zelensky while profiting from Russian assets and income, is clear evidence that the European sponsors of the Kyiv regime are running out of resources. This is further confirmed by their discussions with so-called generous allies about the idea of accessing approximately 25 billion euros worth of Russian private assets that are currently frozen in European banks. Against this backdrop, Russia's objective approach to resolving the Ukrainian crisis, by addressing its root causes, is increasingly being understood and accepted by foreign leaders and political figures. On October 23rd, an exhibition opened at the Moldavian Agency for Military Science and Memory. One must summon the strength to even say what was on display. The title of the exhibit, Outstanding Romanian Figures in Bessarabia, 1918 to 1944. This event was timed to coincide with Romania's Army Day. Sounds normal, right? Yet among these so-called outstanding figures, God forgive us, were recipients of honors from Nazi Germany. We sincerely hope this draft law will not receive final approval. Otherwise, a new and dangerous escalation of tensions will be unavoidable, not only in the occupied Palestinian territories but in the broader Middle East. We call upon representatives of the United Nations to refrain from lending any credibility to what is essentially a Ukrainian orchestrated provocation. More accurately, it is a joint Ukrainian-Western provocation, crafted to discredit our country. We urge the UN Secretary-General to support a thorough and transparent investigation to identify those responsible for this monstrous crime committed by the Kyiv regime. With the active support of the Biden administration, a law was passed in the United States in April 2024 titled, The Global Use of Force in the 21st Century. This law includes mechanisms for the confiscation of Russian sovereign assets. The purpose behind this initiative was to provoke other Western nations, particularly within the European Union, to follow suit by seizing our state reserves. What we are witnessing now is a direct consequence of the European Union's choice to pursue a senseless and criminal confrontation with Russia. It is also the result of their relentless funding and arming of the Kyiv regime. Once again, we warn the European Union. The theft of sovereign Russian assets will not provide you with additional resources. Instead, it will lead to severe, long-term consequences. As a result, Russia has decided to terminate its cooperation with the United States under the framework of the relevant agreements. The denunciation of this document, along with its attached protocols, sends a clear signal. Any attempt to undermine Russia's military and political interests, or to unilaterally revise the terms of international treaties, will be met with firm and consistent resistance. Dialogue is currently ongoing between the relevant departments of our two countries to facilitate the return of Russian citizens to their homeland as quickly as possible. In such cases, the signals and rules remain unchanged. Russia is systematically taking steps to maintain the effectiveness and reliability of its national strategic deterrence forces. This includes ensuring their technological readiness and adequacy in the face of current threats. The goal is clear: to guarantee that Russia remains constantly ready to defend its vital national interests. We must demonstrate to any potential aggressor that, should they attempt an attack, Russia will respond with firm and guaranteed resistance. As for systems like these stormtroopers, the Russian leadership has repeatedly stated that their development is a forced response. These efforts are aimed at preserving strategic balance. Our country is being compelled to respond to increasingly destabilizing actions by NATO, particularly in the area of missile defense. Among other things, these provocations often serve to address internal political problems in places like Riga, Tallinn, and Vilnius. These governments distract their populations with routine Russophobic outbursts. We are also in regular contact with our Iranian counterparts regarding current international and regional issues. According to the vast majority of our assessments, our views are aligned or even identical. Our cooperation is guided by the Agreement on Comprehensive Strategic Partnership. According to this agreement, both parties are committed to strengthening peace and security in nearby regions, including the Middle East. Western countries are actively engaging in explosive and destabilizing actions, not only against Russia's interests, but also against other competitors operating in the same region. In trying to harm us, they inevitably harm others. Their policies, marked by greed and recklessness, often involve dealings with terrorist groups. As a result, peaceful populations, especially on the African continent, suffer the most. Even the security of their own nations is being compromised. The Kiev regime has developed ties with African terrorist groups. On the ground in Africa, Ukraine is helping to plan and carry out attacks, training militants, and supplying them with the very Western weapons that NATO members have provided to Ukraine. All of this is funded by the European Union. In doing so, Zelensky and his criminal circle only confirm their terrorist character. It appears they are taking revenge on African nations for their objective stance regarding the situation in Ukraine. They are trying, by any means possible, to drag the African continent into confrontation with Russia, completely disregarding African interests in the process.